Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Protests are continuing in Minnesota after federal immigration agents fatally shot 37-year-old Alex Jeffrey Pretty in Minneapolis Saturday. He was an intensive care unit nurse in the Minneapolis Veterans Healthcare System who was filming officers on his phone during a protest against President Trump's immigration crackdown in Minneapolis. His killing comes just weeks after ICE fatally shot Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3 in Minneapolis, and after Friday's demonstrations, where over 50,000 people took to the streets of downtown Minneapolis protesting ICE as thousands of residents held a general economic strike. Federal agents claimed Pretty was a violent gunman who threatened to massacre law enforcement. But video evidence and witness statements directly contradict their account. Video footage shows Pretty being wrestled to the ground by several law enforcement officers before being shot 10 times in less than 5 seconds. The videos show Pretty coming to the defense of a woman who was shoved to the ground by a federal officer. The officer then sprays Pretty with a chemical agent before tackling him to the street. 6 agents surround Pretty on the ground. At least one appears to fire at him at close range. They then step away from Pretty's body, and one officer appears to fire 6 shots at Pretty's motionless body. Pretty had no criminal record and had a legal permit to carry a firearm, which he never took out. Pretty's parents released a statement after his killing saying, quote, "We are heartbroken, but also very angry. The sickening lies told about our son by the administration are reprehensible and disgusting. Alex is clearly not holding a gun when attacked by Trump's murdering and cowardly ICE thugs. He has his phone in his right hand, and his empty left hand is raised above his head while trying to protect the woman ICE just pushed down, all while being pepper sprayed," his parents wrote. The Department of Homeland Security has blocked local investigators from probing the fatal shootings of Renee Good and Alex Pretty. Protests erupted in Minnesota in the wake of Pretty's killing.
What I've been hearing and seeing is that the community has been talking to each other as real people, and these people have come in and been hurting us. They've been attacking us when we've been doing nothing but following the law, peacefully observing, and then they decide to gang up and kill one of us.
NBC News is reporting President Trump is considering invoking the Insurrection Act to quell protests against ICE in Minneapolis. Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz has blamed untrained federal officers for the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Pretty. This is Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey Saturday.
How many more Americans need to die or get badly hurt for this operation to end? How many more lives need to be lost before this administration realizes that a political and partisan narrative is not as important as American values? How many times must local and national leaders must plead with you, Donald Trump, to end this operation?
Meanwhile, the NRA, the National Rifle Association, issued a statement condemning the Trump administration's claims that justify Pretty's killing because he was carrying a weapon. The NRA wrote, quote, "This sentiment is dangerous and wrong. Responsible public voices should be awaiting a full investigation, not making generalizations and demonizing law-abiding citizens," unquote. The NBA postponed Saturday's game between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors after federal agents shot and killed Pretty. The Timberwolves head coach, Chris Finch, denounced ICE's killing of Pretty ahead of the game Sunday.
For the second time in less than 3 weeks, we've lost another beloved member of our community. in the most unimaginable way. You know, as an organization, we are heartbroken for what we are having to witness and endure and watch, and we just want to extend our thoughts, prayers, and concern for Mr. Preti.
The NBA Players Association also released a statement saying, quote, following the news of yet another fatal shooting in Minneapolis, a city that's been on the forefront of the fight against injustices, NBA players can no longer remain silent. Now, more than ever, we must defend the right to freedom of speech and stand in solidarity with the people in Minnesota protesting and risking their lives to demand justice, unquote. Attorney General Pam Bondi is demanding access to Minnesota's voter rolls and welfare data in exchange for pulling ICE out of the state. In a letter sent to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz just hours after ICE fatally shot Alex Preti, Attorney General Bondi wrote, quote, share all of Minnesota's records on Medicaid and food and nutrition service programs, including the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program data with the federal government, unquote. Adding, quote, allow the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice to access voter rolls to confirm that Minnesota's voter registration practices comply with federal law, unquote. Meanwhile, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said Democrats plan to block a funding package next week if it includes money for the Department of Homeland Security. It comes as 120 House Democrats are sponsoring a bill to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Tracy Mergen, an FBI supervisor in the Minneapolis field office, has resigned after unsuccessfully trying to investigate ICE agent Jonathan Ross, who fatally shot Renee Good. Mergen resigned after being pressured by the FBI's Washington bureau to discontinue her probe into Ross. It comes as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said, quote, there is currently no basis for a criminal civil rights investigation, unquote, into Good's killing. Israeli forces have launched a military operation in North Gaza to search for the remains of soldier Ran Gvili, the last hostage held in the besieged territory. Israel has conditioned the reopening of the Rafah crossing between southern Gaza and Egypt on whether it retrieves the remains of Gvili. Israel's announcement came as Palestinians in Gaza mourned the killing of at least 3 Palestinians in Israeli attacks and another violation of the U.S.-brokered truce. Among the victims, 2 children killed in an Israeli drone strike on a group of Palestinians gathering firewood near Kamel Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza. They were identified as 13-year-old Salman al-Zawara and his 15-year-old cousin, Mohammed al-Zawara. This is Mohammed's father.
So this is the peace they talk about? This is it? This is the peace? This is surrender, not peace. Now Mohammed is gone.
While Israel continues to violate the so-called ceasefire, President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, held another discussion with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this week on efforts to implement the second phase of the Gaza truce. In news from the occupied West Bank, Al Jazeera reports Israeli soldiers are forcing Palestinians to evacuate a number of buildings, including schools and kindergartens, in the town of Kfar Akhab, amidst escalating Israeli raids across the West Bank. In Britain, at least 86 protesters were arrested on the grounds of a London jail as they gathered to demand the release of Palestine Action political prisoners. The protest also focused on Palestine Action prisoner Mohammed Umar Khalid, who's 22 years old and relaunched his hunger strike about 2 weeks ago. He'd initially been on hunger strike since November, briefly pausing in December due to severe health complications. Videos of the protest at West London's Wormwood Scrubs jail shows police shoving shoving protesters to the ground and handcuffing them. At least 8 activists remain jailed as they await trial over charges related to their advocacy with Palestine Action, which was banned by the British government under its Terrorism Act. Many of them were previously on hunger strike for more than a month. Venezuela's interim government released more than 100 prisoners Sunday. The Venezuelan human rights group Foro Penal said dozens of those released had been detained for political reasons. Interim Venezuelan leader Delcy Rodriguez has vowed to continue to release hundreds of prisoners, including opponents of President Nicolas Maduro, who remains in a New York jail, along with his wife, following the U.S. military strike on Caracas earlier this month that led to their abduction. Meanwhile, Rodriguez has said she's had enough of what she slammed as orders from the Trump administration, saying the United States should, quote, let Venezuelan politics resolve our differences and internal conflicts. Enough of foreign powers, the acting president said. Rodriguez spoke from the Caribbean coastal town of Puerto La Cruz on Sunday.
Estamos a la vanguardia de la felicidad económica.
We are at the forefront of Venezuela's economic and social happiness, and now it is up to us to become the country with the largest oil reserves in the world and the largest gas reserves in this hemisphere. Now it is up to us to become a true oil and gas producing power. We must not be afraid of the energy agenda, neither with the United States nor with the rest of the countries in the world.
The chair of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices at the CDC, Dr. Kirk Milhoan, said that shots against polio and measles should be optional. His comments came in an interview with the podcast Why Should I Trust You?, where Dr. Milhoan said, quote, as you look at polio, we need to not be afraid to consider that we're in a different time now than we were then. Our sanitation is different, our risk of disease is different, and so that those all play into the evaluation of whether this is worthwhile of taking a risk for a vaccine or not, unquote. During the interview, he called school vaccinations authoritarian. Dr. Sean O'Leary, the chair of the Infectious Disease Committee at the American Academy of Pediatrics, said in response, quote, he has no idea what he's talking about. It's very frustrating for those of us who spend our careers trying to do what we can to improve the health of children to see harm coming to children because of an ideological agenda not grounded in science, unquote. And the Marxist scholar, political analyst, historian, and author Michael Parenti has died at the age of 92. He was an outspoken critic of capitalism, imperialism, and class inequities, whose intellectual works were celebrated around the world. He was the author of over 20 books, including Democracy for the Few and Super Patriotism. This is Michael Parenti on Democracy Now! In 2009.
Well, I argue that one of the functions of a capitalist state is to defend capitalism from itself, to defend capitalism from the capitalists. It was Marx, dare we mention him? I hear he's coming back in style. It was Marx who said one capitalist will kill many other capitalists, that the system it begins to consume itself. We see that with Bernard Madoff and the like. The free market does not work. It's not free. It's not really a market. It's a plunder, and it has to be done away with.
To see our interviews with Michael Parenti, you can go to democracynow.org. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.